Chapter 5. The clock struck 11 when Huckleberry Finn appeared outside Tom's window with his dead cat and whistled. A minute later, Tom was dressed and jumped down to the ground. The boys moved off and disappeared in the darkness. Half an hour later, they came to the old graveyard. It was on a hill, about 1.5 miles from the town. Grass grew over the whole graveyard. The boys found the new grave they were looking for. They sat behind the 3 old trees that grew near the grave. Then they waited in silence for what seemed a long time. Suddenly, Tom seized his friend's arm and said, "Didn't you hear it?" "Tom, the devils are coming. They're coming, sure." "What'll we do?" "I don't know. You think they'll see us?" "Oh, Tom, they can see us in the darkness like cats." "Oh, don't be afraid. We are not doing any harm. If we don't move, maybe they won't notice us at all." "I'll try to, Tom, but listen." The boys sat trying not to breathe at all as they heard voices in the far end of the graveyard. "Look, see there," whispered Tom. "What is it?" "It's devil fire. Oh, Tom, this is awful." Some vague figures with an old-fashioned tin lantern were approaching the grave through the darkness. Huckleberry whispered in horror, "It's the devils, I'm sure, 3 of them." "Don't be afraid. They aren't going to hurt us. Shh." "What is it, Huck?" "They're not devils. They're people. One of them is, anyway. It's old Muff Potter's voice." "Say, Huck, I know the other voice. It's Injun Joe." "That's right. What are they up to?" Tom and Huckleberry stopped whispering because the 3 men had reached the grave and stood close to the boys' hiding place. They had a cart, rope, and shovels with them. "Here it is," said the 3rd voice. The owner of it held the lantern up. It was young Dr. Robinson. Potter and Injun Joe began to open the grave. The doctor put the lantern on the ground and sat down with his back against one of the trees. He was so close the boys could touch him. "Hurry, men," he said in a low voice. "The moon might come out at any moment." For some time there was no noise, but the sound of the shovels meeting the earth. Finally, a shovel struck up on the coffin, and another minute or 2 later, the men took it out. They opened the coffin with their shovels, got out the body, and put it on the cart, binding it to its place with the rope. Potter took out a large knife and cut off the loose end of the rope, and then said, "Now it's ready, Doctor. If you don't give $5 more, we are not taking him anywhere." "That's the talk," said Injun Joe. "Look here. What does this mean?" said the doctor. "You asked for your pay in advance, and I've paid you." "Yes, and you've done more than that," said Injun Joe, approaching the doctor, who was now standing. 5 years ago I came to your father's kitchen to ask for something to eat, and you told me to go away. And your father threw me in jail. Did you think I would forget? And now I've got you, and you should do what I want." He was threatening the doctor, with his fist in his face by this time. But the doctor was young and quick. He suddenly hit Injun Joe, and the man fell to the ground. Potter dropped his knife and shouted, "Here now, don't hit my partner!" And he started to fight with the doctor. Injun Joe got to his feet very angry, picked up Potter's knife, and went like a cat round and round about the fighting men, waiting for an opportunity. Potter was drunk as usual, and the doctor easily pushed him. Then he seized the heavy headboard of William's grave and hit Potter on the head. The man fell to the ground, and at the same moment Injun Joe saw his chance and stabbed the young man in the chest with the knife. The doctor fell partly upon Potter, covering him with his blood, and at the same moment the two frightened boys ran away. They didn't see that Injun Joe robbed the doctor's body, put the knife in Potter's open right hand, and sat down on the coffin. 5 minutes passed, and then Potter began to move. He looked at his hand with the knife covered in blood, sat up, pushing the body from him. His eyes met Joe's. "What is this, Joe?" he said. "It's a dirty business." "Why did you kill him?" said Joe without moving. I didn't do it." "Just look, you did." Potter's face became white. "I don't remember anything. Tell me, Joe, honestly now. Did I do it?" "Oh, it's awful. He was so young and promising." "Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I never used a weapon in my life before, Joe." "They'll all say that, Joe. Don't tell." "I always liked you, Joe. Don't you remember? You won't tell, will you, Joe?" "No, I won't tell, Muff Potter. You've always been good to me. But come now, go this way and I'll go this." "Ah, Joe, you're an angel." And both men left the graveyard. The two boys ran on and on towards the town, terribly frightened. They looked back over their shoulders from time to time, as if they feared they might be followed. Every tree seemed a man and an enemy, and made them catch their breath. As they passed some cottages near the town, the barking of the dogs seemed to give wings to their feet. At last, they reached an old ruined house, burst in it through the open door, and fell on the ground in a dark corner. When their breathing became normal, Tom whispered, "Huck, what do you think is going to happen now?" "If Dr. Robinson dies, I think somebody will be thrown in jail." Tom thought for a moment. Then he said, "Who'll tell, we?" "What are you talking about? What if something happens and Injun Joe is not thrown in jail? Why, he would kill us too." "That's just what I was thinking, Huck." "If anybody tells, let Muff Potter do it." Tom said nothing, went on thinking. Then he whispered, "Huck, Muff Potter doesn't know about it. How can he tell? He'd just been hit on the head when Injun Joe did it." "You're right, Tom." There was a long silence before Tom said, "Huck, are you sure you can keep quiet?" "Tom, we gotta keep quiet. You know that. That Injun devil will murder us like a couple of cats if they don't catch him. Now look here, Tom. Let's swear to one another to keep quiet about it." "I agree, it's the best thing. We just hold hands and swear that we—" "Oh, no. That is not enough for this. That's good for little things, especially with girls. But there we should do it in writing. And in blood." Tom liked this idea. It was dark and awful. It was right to swear with blood. He took out of his pocket a piece of paper and a short pencil, and wrote, "Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer swear they will keep quiet, and they wish they are dead if they ever tell about it." Then Tom and Huckleberry cut their fingers and put down their initials in blood, using their little fingers for a pen. They buried the paper near the wall and separated. When Tom got in at his room window, the night was almost over. He fell asleep congratulating himself that nobody knew of his absence. He didn't know that his brother Sid was just pretending to be asleep. Tom woke up late, feeling tired. The aunt and Sid were still at table, but they had finished breakfast. Strange silence worried Tom. After breakfast, his aunt asked him how he could break her old heart. This was worse than 1,000 whippings, and Tom's heart felt as bad as his body. He cried, he asked for forgiveness, promised to change his behavior, and finally left, forgiven but still unhappy. Tom walked to school, sad and alone. When he took his seat, he felt something under his arm. He took the object. It was his brass doorknob. His heart broke.